All right, let me talk about Jimmy Kimmel. So I actually have a theory on Jimmy Kimmel. What's funny is I've had a theory on Jimmy Kimmel for a long time, and now all of a sudden there's all this controversy around him. So, and my theory kind of applies probably to, I would say, most celebrities. But, so, when I was younger, there used to be this show on, I think it was on Comedy Central, and it was called Win Ben Stein's Money. It's hot in Florida. It's like 90 degrees right now. And so I used to watch the show, but the show was, there's this actor named Ben Stein who's kind of known for his intelligence, I guess. And on the show, if you don't know who Ben Stein is, if you ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, it's this goofy movie from the 80s. But so the Ferris Bueller skips school, and Ben Stein is one of his teachers. And when Ben Stein is taking attendance, he gets to Ferris Bueller's name. He's like, Bueller, 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 and he just keeps saying it. That's Ben Stein. He's the teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But, on the show Win Ben Stein's Money, it's like Jeopardy type show where there's two contestants going up against Ben Stein, and whoever answers the most questions wins the money. And I guess it's Ben Stein's money. Like, if Ben Stein wins the show, it's his money. What, you know. So, but anyways, there was, now, I actually forget exactly how it went, but what I do remember is that Jimmy Kimmel was on it. And I remember watching the show and thinking to myself, like, why is this guy here? Like, he kind of ruins the whole continuity of the show, because he's always jumping in with these bad jokes, and it's just completely, like, tone deaf. You know what I mean? It would be like watching Jeopardy and having some goofy class clown in the background with a dunce hat on, making stupid jokes. It just didn't make sense to me. And on top of that, he just wasn't funny. He wasn't charismatic. And I found him annoying. Like, in my opinion, the show would have been way better without Jimmy Kimmel on it. But this was the first time I heard of Jimmy Kimmel. And the reason he caught my attention was because I was thinking to myself, this guy is such a fucking hack, and he's so talentless, and he, zero charisma. I don't see the draw. I don't see the purpose in having him on this show, because the show doesn't benefit from it. The only person who benefits from his presence on this show is him. He's getting some publicity. He's getting a lot of practice as far as improv comedy goes, because, he's sitting there in front of a live audience, which is a very easy crowd, because they're there to support the show, you know what I mean? It's not like a stand-up comedy show where the crowd could potentially go against you. So it seemed to me, I'd be thinking to myself, it almost seems like, is this Ben Stein's fucking illegitimate son or something, where he's trying to give him a career? Like, it just doesn't make sense. His presence doesn't make sense. And it seems like they're just trying to give him a boost, a jump start, and a place to practice his craft, because he doesn't belong there, And so it just never made sense to me. And then a couple years later, I see Jimmy Kimmel popping up again, which was kind of shocking to me, because he seemed like such a talentless hack. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm like, oh, I hate Jimmy Kimmel because he's a Democrat. I was really thinking this back then. And back then, I was a liberal, you know what I mean? And Jimmy Kimmel really wasn't. He, there was zero politics involved. But you also got to realize this is back in, like, probably the late 90s, where, at that time in America, everyone was fucking liberal. I mean, you know, the only, like, Republican was, like, the dorky thing to be. You know what I mean? It just wasn't cool to be a Republican back then. That was the last thing anyone wanted to be. I knew some, like, younger Republicans that I went to high school with, and to be honest, I kind of liked them. I would see them out partying and stuff, and, you know, but no one really took politics that seriously back then either. You know what I mean? But, you know, the cool kids, you know, I gotta say, these Republican kids, I considered them kind of cool. It's not like I thought they were like dorks or anything, but you know, I was a liberal back then, basically for no other reason than I thought that was the cool thing to be. You know what I mean? All the celebrities were liberals, and I used to listen to rap, and I used to think, you know, you see all these people on the internet nowadays, like, always talking like, oh, Tekashi 6ix9ine is a snitch, oh, they snitch, and they're a snitch, and I used to be like that too, even though I was committing no crimes. You know, it's not like I was a gangster or something. I just thought it was like cool, you know. So I see these people on the internet nowadays, and I think to myself, I can't believe I used to be a fucking idiot like that, where, you know, why the fuck was I worried about snitches and shit? I mean, me and my friends were like selling a little weed here and there, but you know what I mean? But we weren't like gangsters. We liked to pretend we were. Anyways, so that's why I was a liberal. I was like this little fake gangster. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's not like I didn't like Jimmy Kimmel because he was a liberal. I didn't like him because he was unfunny and, you know, crass and annoying and stupid, and I just found him annoying. And so then, a couple years later, I see he's on another show, and I think it was on MTV, and it was called The Man Show. And I gotta say, it was like the dumbest fucking show ever created. It's the type of show that'll make you dumber. You know what I mean? It's just, oh, here's some chicks bouncing on a trampoline. Look at their boobs bounce, right, guys? Like, that type of shit. Like, guys like tools and tits and cars, right, guys? Like, then I'd see this show and I was like, what the fuck is this, bro? What really amazed me was that there were people who liked it, you know, and I'd be like, you know, how dumb can you fucking be? It's like, it's an insult, how stupid it was. But people did like it, you know? And I saw Jimmy Kimmel was on it. And I think the other guy on it was like Adam Carolla or something. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, these guys represent, like, you know, masculine manhood. Like, what the, really? Like, I don't really agree with that, you know? Like, they're not, you know, to me, masculine, someone who's kind of tough and stoic, these guys are not that. They're like these dweeb, you know, and Adam Carolla I actually like, you know, to this day I like him. But I don't consider him, if you're going to have The Man Show, are you going to have Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel? Now, I'm not sure. Was it Adam Carolla? I could be wrong. But, you know, Adam Carolla, I consider him more the intellectual type, not the, you know, I'm not trying to insult the guy. I'm not the manliest man by any stretch of the imagination. You know what I mean? I wouldn't consider myself as The Man Show starring Joey. No, it doesn't match me. You know what I mean? Like, but, you know, Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla, I just thought that was kind of fucking weird. And so, you know, I just always thought to myself, this guy, it's like they just he's like a square peg that they keep stuffing into a round hole. You know what I mean? And I never really understood why, but I never really paid much attention to it anyway. And to be honest, I should have looked up his Wikipedia before I did this video to see what his actual written history is, because the way it seemed to me, and I could be wrong, but what it seemed like to me was that they recruited Jimmy Kimmel from somewhere because they wanted to turn him into a celebrity. I don't think he's got any real natural talent for it, but they kind of forced it on the country, and the country just kind of played along with it because that's what they do. You know, most people are just sitting there waiting for you to tell them what to think. You know, this is why we've got liberals and conservatives who they put this label on themselves, and that label now dictates their opinions on everything. For instance, 99% of gay people are Democrats. You know, that's not a coincidence. It's they you know, they're letting this label dictate they're like a puppet on the end of a string. Just, oh well, when something happens, they think to themselves, well, I'm a liberal, so this is how I feel. They don't even think like, but anyways, that's beside the point. So I kept seeing Jimmy Kimmel pop up, and I'm thinking to myself, why are they like grooming this guy and training him to be a celebrity? I just don't get it. You know, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You know, I just didn't get it. And then by the time Jimmy Kimmel had his own show, I was not paying attention to TV anymore, you know. I couldn't tell you exactly how things went, but at some point in the early 2000s, I stopped even paying for cable. When I stopped paying for cable, TV was still like everyone still watched TV, and it was still, you know, it was still like a big thing. But I got tired of spending all this money for TV channels when really the only ones I ever really watched were the Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network. I wasn't watching a whole lot of TV at this time in my life, even though, you know, I was still living in a somewhat stable lifestyle. But my thing was, I'd be working all day, then I would come home, take a shower, eat, smoke a bunch of weed, play a bunch of video games, and then a couple hours later, I'd smoke a bunch of weed again, play a bunch of video games, and go to sleep. So I really didn't even watch TV. And when I started doing construction, you know, my money went way down because all of a sudden I'm starting this new career, and I'm starting at minimum wage. And I was like, dude, I'm not spending $100 a month on fucking cable. I can't even really afford that. You know, I'm not. It's just not. It's not worth it to me. But believe me, at the time, it wasn't easy for me because I was like, you got to realize everyone had cable. You know what I mean? So you don't want to be the one broke guy who can't even afford cable TV. But you know, I was thinking to myself, when I get more stabilized in life, I'll get cable again. It's not a big deal. So in the early 2000s, I pretty much stopped paying attention to TV because I didn't pay for cable no more. You know what I mean? And so by the time Jimmy Kimmel got a show, I don't know when that was, but I'm assuming, I think it was around, I don't know, was it around like 2009, 2010? I don't know, somewhere around there, Jimmy Kimmel all of a sudden's got this late night show. And, you know, what is this? Somebody right behind me? Oh, it's nobody I know. Man, I'm sweating. And so I heard that, oh, Jimmy Kimmel's got a show, and I was thinking to myself, they couldn't find someone better than this goofball, this fucking hack to, you know, but I didn't think much of it. And then all of a sudden I would see, every time I would see a clip of Jimmy Kimmel online or whatever, all of a sudden he's like this fucking hardcore liberal, like, you know, balls to the wall, almost extremist, like left-wing extremist, really. And I was like, that's just fucking weird. Like, because when I was younger and I did watch these late night shows occasionally, I never watched them much. Like Letterman and Leno, I just never watched the shows much. I thought they were just kind of lame and boring and stupid. But every once in a while, I would watch the beginning of it or whatever, because sometimes they would do funny things, like the interviews on the street or whatever. But I didn't watch them much. But the thing with them was they were never obviously Republican or Democrat. You know what I mean? They kept it kind of professional to where they knew that a large part of my audience is on the left and a large part of my audience is on the right, potentially. So I don't want to be out here offending half the country. This is about ratings. I'm here to entertain people. I'm not here to push politics. I'll make jokes. Now, they all kind of leaned left, which everyone did. But it wasn't like balls to the wall like it turned into with, what's his name, John Oliver and like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't, these shows I never watched, but those two stand out to me, Jimmy Kimmel and John Oliver. When I see clips of them, they're always like hardcore left. And so I would think to myself, why would, this is on broadcast television, which is, it's for everyone. It's not for the Democrats. It's not for the Republicans. It's just fucking weird that they're so balls to the wall, like Jimmy Kimmel saying, oh, whoever didn't get the vaccine, well, if you go to the hospital and they're packed, well, if you didn't get the vaccine, sorry, wheezy, or something. Like, he's so edgy and cool. The guy's a fucking dork. Fucking these people who get on TV and they're all far left and they try to act like, they're just the coolest thing under the sun, and like, oh, the Republicans are dorks. It's not 1990 fucking 5 anymore, first of all. Second of all, I would love to take these people to my neighborhood in the Bronx, which I was like the only white person around. And so, but here's the thing, I know how to act, you know what I mean? I know how to act in a way where I'm not going to stand out, I'm not going to be a target, you know what I mean? But I think to myself, I would love to take Jimmy Kimmel or John Oliver, drop them off in my part of the Bronx at midnight. I want to see how they react, because they would be such a fucking target. I'll tell you exactly what would happen to them. What would happen to them is they would be approached by whoever saw them first, like a lion on the fucking Serengeti plains looking at a gazelle. They would be approached politely at first. They would ask them, can I have some money? And depending on their answer, it could go one of two ways. They could give up some money and go about their merry way, or they could have everything taken from them and potentially killed or beaten or whatever. But they're going to give something up. Now, why didn't that happen to me? First of all, I lived in the neighborhood and everyone knew me. Second of all, I didn't have shit. So, what are they gonna get out of me? $20? They know, like, oh, he lives here. He ain't got shit. You know what I mean? So I never had no issues. But also, people knew me because I'd be out there buying dope and shit. So, people just knew me, and so I wasn't a target. So, although sometimes I would come home late at night and people would approach me and ask me, and I'd be like, dude, I ain't got shit. You're asking the wrong motherfucker. I live here. You know what I mean? So, like, but the thing was, it was my energy. I wasn't, like, scared or whatever. I was like, bro, you got the wrong one. I live here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of them. It's just the energy. It's, I wasn't scared. You know what I mean? I knew I do. First of all, I didn't have nothing worth taking. And second of all, whatever they're going to get out of me, it's not worth the trouble that I'm going to cause them, because I'm not giving you shit. You know what I mean? And so, but someone like Jimmy Kimmel or John Oliver, they would see them as just a soft target and easy, just a fucking easy score. You know what I mean? And so these, they think they're so cool and far left. And oh, you think they like you now? Because they don't. Then, in fact, they like you less than they like me, because I stand up for myself and my beliefs. I don't just roll over like these, And, don't get me wrong. Here's the thing. I'm more the Letterman old school way. I don't want to offend half the country by spouting my politics. I'm on the right, but that doesn't mean that if you're a liberal, you're not welcome here, because everyone's welcome here. And I don't want, here's the thing. If you're a liberal and you like me, I like you too. And it's that simple. I'm not here to change your mind about anything. I'm not here to, I gotta say, a lot of liberals get on my nerves. They annoy me. But if they like me, I like them. And here's the other thing. When I'm out in public and I have liberal friends, when they start bringing up complaining about Trump or whatever, I don't sit there and fucking argue with them. First of all, I don't care what they think. I don't want to change their mind. But mainly, what I do not want is this person who I've known for years. I don't want to get into it with him. What the fuck? Say your stupid little piece. Who cares? I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to get in a fight with you over Donald Trump or, very rarely will I actually, in the real world, if someone brings up politics, very rarely will I say something. Every once in a while, someone will say something that I just can't keep quiet about. But most of the time, I restrain myself because it's just fucking stupid. I don't want to cause this rift, negativity of this person who 9 times out of 10, they're kind of, I don't want to hurt their feelings, and I don't want to come off like a bully. None of that. You know what I mean? It's proper decorum. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just having tact. It's being polite. I'm not going to sit here and fucking argue with you over this dumb shit. You know what I mean? So, but so my point here is that I feel like Jimmy Kimmel is completely fucking manufactured. I feel like they recruited him when he was young. They groomed him and taught him how to be a celebrity. And in return, he's got to spout their politics. Now, it could even be on a subconscious level, but here's the thing. On a subconscious level, Jimmy Kimmel knows that if he does not spout the proper politics, he's done. They're going to take everything from him. Look at Russell Brand. Look at any celebrity who stepped on the wrong toes. Look what happens to him. They can make you. They can ruin your life. They can do it in a bad way. They can. With Russell Brand, for instance. At some point he was this celebrity just banging out chicks left and right. If you're going to be out there banging out chicks left and right, it's not going to be hard for them to find some chicks out there who have a vendetta against you. You know what I mean? Because you're out there using them up and tossing them aside. They have a right to be angry with you. You did them dirty. Now, does that mean that they should be accusing you of sexual assault or whatever? No, but I'm not surprised that they do that because you did them wrong. You know what I mean? So all these celebrities and shit, it ain't hard to get people to come out with accusations against them. These celebrities, all of them, most of them, are completely under control. They're puppets on the end of a string, and Jimmy Kimmel is certainly one of them, in my opinion. And so, I saw Andrew Schultz made this video where he's like, well, we're free speech absolutists, and I'm a free speech absolutist. That doesn't mean that your TV show can't get canceled. They didn't fucking cancel Jimmy Kimmel. They took his failing TV show off the TV. Jimmy Kimmel still has a Twitter. He can still do YouTube. He can still do whatever the fuck he wants. He has not been canceled. His TV show was taken off of TV. That's not fucking a violation of free speech. Everyone's so fucked in the head. You know what is a violation of free speech? In England, when they tweet and they complain about the migrants and the government and they go to fucking jail, that is a violation of free speech. So if you're going to get up on your soapbox and talk about free speech, talk about that. Don't talk about fucking Jimmy Kimmel. You know what I mean? It's like they're so fucking stupid. Like Andrew Schultz on there talking about, I don't like what he says, but I'll defend his right to say it. Me too. That doesn't mean he has to have a TV show. What do you got, a fucking 80 IQ? I know you do. No offense to the 80 IQs out there. But it's like this midwit stupid. I'm so tired of it, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, the midwits are so easy to fucking manipulate. But anyways, you know, so, you know, Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled. Dude, he ain't been canceled. You know who did get canceled? Fucking Donald Trump. They took his Twitter down and all this shit. That's being canceled. Andrew Tate got canceled. They took all his social media. He had to go up on Rumble. And you know what's funny? They couldn't cancel him. He was too big. Now, I'm not like a huge Andrew Tate fan, but I gotta say, that's canceled. What they did to him, where they take everything. You know what I mean? And they even tried to put him in fucking jail. Where were you guys then? You weren't talking about free speech then, you know? And I'm not even like this Andrew Tate fan. I think the guy's entertaining and funny. But I disagree with a lot of his tactics and opinions. I'm right with him on a lot of his opinions. But, you know, my point here is that Jimmy Kimmel is not some bastion of free speech. He's a political propagandist who's been spouting far left bullshit forever. And, you know, he's spouting someone else's opinions, first of all. It's not even his. You know, he's doing what he needs to do to maintain his wealth and his fame. It's not like this guy stands for anything. You know what I mean? This is all conjecture on my part. I don't know the guy. I don't want to know the guy. You know? But it's just like, y'all gotta, you know, the people who think this is about free speech, that's not what this is about. It's a TV show. And here's the other thing. Those ABC or whatever, they sign contracts with people. So Jimmy Kimmel, whose show, look at the ratings. They've never been good, and they're actually just falling off a cliff lately. So Jimmy Kimmel, the show's got a big budget. It costs a lot of money to do this show, and advertisers are not willing to pay a lot of money to advertise during that show. So what can ABC do? They can't do shit because there's a contract in place. Hold on. Fucking. Of course. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to turn down the street. But so, ABC's got a contract with Jimmy Kimmel that they can't just break regardless of how shitty his ratings are. So they're stuck with him. Then all of a sudden, ABC gets a golden opportunity, a gift from the heavens. The FCC guy is complaining about Jimmy Kimmel and talking about consequences and punishment and this and that. Now, you also got to realize that he didn't do nothing. He's talking shit. He can't really do nothing. I mean, then again, it's, who knows? I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs and loopholes and this and that. But in my opinion, what happened was ABC saw an opportunity to get rid of this thing that was costing them money. And they jumped on that opportunity, and they can blame Trump for it. And so that's what they did. But I also heard that Jimmy Kimmel is currently trying to get his show back. If the FCC fucking canceled it, there'd be no, you know, there'd be no negotiations. It would be over. If he broke some, you know, laws or whatever. So it's like, the whole thing, it's just bullshit. And here's the other thing. If these people who care about this, it's like, why weren't you watching his show before? All of a sudden you care about his show. Here, if it was up to me, I'd say put Jimmy Kimmel back on TV, shut them up, but force them to watch it. Now they gotta watch his stupid show every day. Isn't his show on every fucking day? Could you imagine this annoying Jimmy Kimmel? Who the fuck watches that every day? Do any of you guys watch it? And I'm not trying to insult you, but if you used to watch Jimmy Kimmel, tell me why in the comments, because I don't see why anyone do it. It's corny, hacky, stupid, lame bullshit. But I never watched the show, so I really don't know. But here's what I do know. David Letterman and Jay Leno were actually kind of funny. And I didn't even watch their shows. So it's like, what the hell could Jimmy Kimmel have been doing on that format? There's no way he's doing it anywhere near as well as they used to do it. And I couldn't even watch that shit with two, I would say, pretty talented. Jay Leno, I consider, is a talented comedian. Letterman, less talented, but still, at least likable. It's like, what's the allure with Jimmy Kimmel other than he's just there and you've got nothing else to do? But me, even under those circumstances, I'm not watching that shit. I'll find something else to do. I'll do push-ups. I'll fucking mop the floor. Anything but that. I'm not watching that shit. So anyways, that's all I got to say about that. And here's the other thing. I don't care if they cancel the fucking show or not. Put it back on. I don't care. Who cares? It's not like Jimmy Kimmel needs to be silenced. What he said was stupid. What did he say? He said, the guy that killed Charlie Kirk was a Republican. A MAGA Republican. I don't think so, buddy. He was a furry. He's into guys and trans and furries. I don't think he's a Republican. I mean, well, here's the other thing. Why would a Republican want to kill fucking Charlie Kirk, I get that the Nick Fuentes right is not a huge fan of Charlie Kirk. They think he's a shill. I kind of agree with that. But do they want him dead? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. You know what I mean? Nobody, to be honest, I cannot fucking believe that there's people out there that hate Charlie Kirk. The guy was so kind of mild and middle of the road, in my opinion. You think that guy was fucking far right? Like, am I missing something? In my opinion, Charlie Kirk, now God rest his soul, I think Charlie Kirk was a nice guy. I think he was a good guy. But I don't think he was doing anything, it's not like, I'm on the right. I never even hardly paid any attention to Charlie Kirk because I considered him kind of this establishment shill, kind of. And he's part of the whole, he may as well have been a fucking politician, I just never, but what happened to him is disgusting, and I'm totally against it. And here's the other thing. There's plenty of annoying liberals out there that I cannot fucking stand. There's David Hogg. The guy's unbelievably annoying. There's Hassan Piker. There's Destiny. These people grate on my nerves. Does that mean I want them dead? No, not at all. I don't even want them canceled. Let them talk. Let them have their fans. I don't care. You know what I mean? Do I want them dead? Not at all. I don't want to see that. I don't take these people that seriously. I'd like to maybe slap them across the mouth. But that'd be about it. Not even. I don't even hate them that much, I just think they're annoying and stupid. I don't wish any harm on them or their families or none of that. You know what I mean? So I guess that's the end of this one. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the tips. Thanks for the channel members, and thanks for the Patreons. I appreciate y'all. And, I'm not going to be talking about Jimmy Kimmel anymore, I can assure you. I don't care if he has a show or not, dude. It doesn't matter to me. But I just think the whole thing is just nonsense anyway, the guy's a fucking, he's a shill, you know what I mean? None of these people matter. But anyway, so Yeah, appreciate y'all, and oh, thanks for the Patreons especially. And yeah, if you want to know my conspiracy theories, go on Patreon. That's where I put them. So that's the end of this one. See you on the next one.